This slideshow provides an introduction to entrepreneurship. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes, manages, and assumes the risks of a business or enterprise. Looking at the various definitions of entrepreneur, the recurring theme appears to be risk. As opposed to a manager working in an established business and receiving a salary, an entrepreneur personally bears the risk of creating a new business. Business failures are notoriously unpublicized and unreported. So precise figures concerning the success versus failure rate of startups are not easily available to researchers. A 2006 paper titled Skill versus Luck in Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital, Evidence from Serial Entrepreneurs by Paul Gomez, Anna Kovner, Josh Lerner, and David Sharfstein of Harvard University and the National Bureau of Economic Research reports the success rate to be 18% for first-time entrepreneurs who are backed by venture funding. So 82% of startups founded by first-time entrepreneurs that succeed in raising venture capital financing subsequently fail. The paper finds the success rate of previously successful entrepreneurs to be 30%. So an entrepreneur that has previously founded a successful startup has a 70% chance of failing in a new venture. The majority of startups do not manage to raise venture capital funding, so these figures from venture-backed companies may skew the statistics for the total population of startup companies. Many observers estimate the average success rate for unfunded as well as VC-funded startups to be less than 10%. It's highly possible that at least 9 out of 10 new ventures fail to survive more than a few years. Of course, these statistics are dependent upon what we mean by success. If success is defined as raising funds from public investors in an IPO or delivering huge returns on investment to the investors, then chances are even more slim. Renaissance Capital reported that the total number of US IPOs in 2009 was 63. However, Dow Jones Venture Source reports 2,489 US venture investments in the same year. 63 IPOs compared with 2,489 venture investments represents one IPO for every 40 venture-backed startups. The rewards to the entrepreneur from a successful startup are potentially very large. However, the statistical chance of success is slim. Startup founders invest substantial amounts of their time, their cash, and they forgo other opportunities by stepping off the corporate ladder for several years to focus on their entrepreneurial ventures. Combining the slim chances of success, the multi-year commitment, and the huge personal sacrifice in terms of the lost opportunity cost of an alternative career, as well as the investment of time and personal finance, early observers reach the conclusion that entrepreneurs must be gamblers, with high tolerance to risk. With the high stakes and relatively low chances of success, forming a new business is certainly a gamble. But this does not mean that entrepreneurs are all gamblers or enjoy taking risks. It's natural for many types of individual to desire independence and dream of becoming their own boss. But most people decide to pursue a regular paycheck from a corporate employer instead of running the risk of starting a new venture. Researcher Brian Wu of the Wharton Business School found it was confidence that drives many entrepreneurs. His research shows that entrepreneurs are not unusually tolerant to risk. It's overconfidence in their abilities that allows these individuals to proceed when facing seemingly slim chances of success. Although statistics show that at least 9 out of 10 startups fail, the atypical entrepreneur does not believe she is personally taking a risk, because she's confident that she will be the one to succeed. Entrepreneurs are not necessarily risk takers. Wu's research indicates that an entrepreneur's inherent overconfidence helps cancel out his sensitivity to risk. Having taken the leap and left the corporate ladder, many find that becoming an entrepreneur is often a one-way path. After running their own startups, very few return to life as an employee, and successful or not, many go on to become serial entrepreneurs. With high rates of failure and a pool of serial entrepreneurs seeking funding, the question arises as to whether venture capital and other investors will back individuals that have failed in the past. The answer is, of course, it depends. The 2006 Harvard paper, Skill versus Luck in Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital, Evidence from Serial Entrepreneurs, reports that success rates for previously failed entrepreneurs is higher than first-timers. After failing at least once, the chance of success for an entrepreneur forming a new startup increases from 18% to 20%. Silicon Valley investors are traditionally more forgiving than those in some other countries, where the stigma of a business failure is difficult to shake off. Silicon Valley VCs will often back new startups founded by individuals whose previous companies have not achieved success. Investors know that many successful new companies are created by entrepreneurs that have failed in the past. Before investing, venture capitalists do look at the track record of entrepreneurs and investigate how they managed their prior companies, how they interacted with investors, and they try to determine whether the prior failures were due to errors of management or other factors. When looking at the entrepreneur's startup track record, a well-managed failure can be more impressive than a poorly managed success. As a new business starts out with very few staff, the founders have to fill a variety of corporate roles and develop skills in many different disciplines. Of course, the key skill of a technology entrepreneur is a deep understanding of the science and technical field in which the startup operates. The entrepreneur has to become a designer, a product developer and engineer in order to create a marketable product. The business has no chance of success unless the team has marketing, promotional and sales skills. Unlike corporate employees, entrepreneurs don't have teams of IT support staff and often have to set up their own networks, troubleshoot technical issues, install and upgrade their software systems. Company founders often find themselves doing their own bookkeeping, preparing, analyzing and presenting financial reports. Fundraising and the ability to interact with investors is critical to the success of many startups. These skills often have to be developed. Of course, some of these tasks can be outsourced, but in a startup situation, the funds are rarely available to hire teams of specialists, and the founders have no option available other than to undertake all these functions themselves, at least until such time as the company has grown sufficiently large to hire specialist staff. One of the skills that must be developed by the successful entrepreneur is that of lawyer. Compliance with corporate governance regulations, securities, taxation, and other federal and state regulations is essential, and outside counsel is a precious resource. Legal advice is available at a price for complex matters, but it's unrealistic to have a full-time attorney on the startup team. So the entrepreneur needs some self-sufficiency in the areas of company formation, contracts, intellectual property, disputes and litigation, financing, particularly concerning the sale of shares and securities, corporate organization and control, and the duties, responsibilities, and liabilities of directors and officers. The startup may have engaged in outside CPA and bookkeeping support, but the entrepreneur needs some self-sufficiency in the areas of accounting and bookkeeping systems, profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow forecasting, and other financial reports, banking, payroll and employment taxes, sales taxes, corporation taxes, company valuation, capitalization tables, and the financial needs and concerns of investors. Another critical role for an entrepreneur is that of promoter. The entrepreneur must have some self-sufficiency in marketing, promotions, and presentation skills. The successful company founder promotes the vision to the team members, promotes the company to investors, promotes products and services to customers, promotes the company and its story to the press, and generates a buzz in the industry that helps the company achieve its milestones. In order to direct the company towards success, the entrepreneur plays the role of corporate navigator. This role involves identifying IPO or merger and acquisition or another target destination for the company and its shareholders. It includes plotting out milestones, prioritizing the milestones, identifying potential obstacles in the path, preparing contingency plans, checking the position, and taking bearings. One of the most tested skills is the ability to navigate the business through cash crisis and other difficult terrain. When developing a startup business, there are many different activities taking place at the same time. As a specialist in a large corporation, an employee may be able to focus on one task or one aspect of the business for a period of time. An entrepreneur in a startup company has to manage a number of concurrent activities. Product development activities are taking place at the same time as accounting and financial reports are being prepared. Fundraising efforts run in parallel with sales, marketing, and the handling of legal matters. In a startup environment, the ability to multitask is often critical to the success of the business. Handling multiple critical issues at the same time, the demands on the founder can be excessive, and it's not unusual for the entrepreneur to spend a disproportionate amount of time working in the startup. Entrepreneurs founding technology-driven startups generally have to spend time and resources developing technology before the business is able to generate sales revenue. High-tech companies can grow extremely quickly, but they're capital-intensive, requiring investment capital to survive the startup process. Some technology sectors are more capital-intensive than others. Where a service, distribution, or retail business might be able to generate sales revenues relatively quickly, technology companies take time to develop, and it can be several years from the formation stage before the company can book revenues from product sales. The technology development aspect creates delays, substantial costs, and special challenges for entrepreneurs. The potential rewards for high-tech entrepreneurs may be higher, but the startup timescales are longer, more investment is required, and there's a resulting higher risk of failure.